Sir, hold. White one or
Van Gogh could find more colors on his palette than other artists. And in the same way, rdburman seems to have found extra notes. Like, where does he get that sound from, or that tune from, or that pitch from? And he seems to hear what other people do not hear. The normal ear hasn't, caught it, and he has caught it, and he has brought it in his music. And he also is such a sensitive person, like we saw in the film, that he feels more than other people feel. And that is why this film was just not a biopic. It was like a little insight or a window into this man. And even after 10 years and Pancham Unmixed and knowing Pancham, Brahmaji and the team of Movies Films realized that we can still seek more. And they created something called the Pancham Legacy.
Okay. So, before I ask Sonu to come here, I would like to invite and showcase my team here who has been behind this all. So, starting from Shibani. Shibani is on camera. Shrishti, Suhana, Amar, Sanjay, Rakesh, and the captain of the lot, Tanvi Jain here. So I do very little work. All these people help me do so much with what they have to put together and say.
With a name like that, of course, he's conquered the world with this beautiful film. And I think no performance of mine is complete without doing a lovely set of all Pancham Da songs, which is everlasting, evergreen, and I think the best ever anywhere in the world. So I'll just say big congratulations and big hand for Brahma.
Not met him, the work is out of question. So I'm like Eklavya. I've watched him from far. I've understood and interacted with people who knew him. So my knowledge is that of a fan. And but what I can tell you one thing is that 10 years back when Brahmanan came to do this interview in film, he was as clueless as me. He was just taking a bite and wondering ki kuch hoga, kuch banega. I'm sure this was beyond his wildest dream where this incredible documentary has reached. And that is the biggest gift that Pancham has given him and to all of us. He said he's brought us together thanks to this film. Otherwise we don't even meet. I think this is one of the great things that rdburman has done. And from my personally, I can tell you one thing, that every song is a struggle for a composer because of the composition, because of the way you have to sell it, approvals and all that. But sometimes when I think the kind of stuff that he has done, that he has pulled off, it's also a big tribute to the people who are around him, all the directors and producers who allowed that kind of a genius composition to take place. I think it's a big, how to say, it's an applause to that era, that time, who recognized that genius and allowed that genius to perform. I'm very happy that Pancham is not here today because he would have been in trouble. Thank you.
All I can say is I've been really lucky along my journey with Pancham Da because my dad, P.L. Raj, who has been a choreographer, so Sholay, Sargam, Dawn, all those films, one day when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, he took me to meet S.D. Burman. So I was this kid, and then, senior Burman called out, Pancham, and then one guy walked in with glasses, these soda water bottle glasses. And I was the kid, and my dad spoke. He introduced him to my dad, and I was just the bystand guy. And that's the first time I saw him, met him. Years later, as I grew up, when I must have been like 9, 10, 11, I would go to his house when they were composing, and I would sit with my dad, and I was like that, again, offside guy. But I was really interested in recording, so they would be recording all the compositions as they were arranging, composing. So just really interested. And so of course he knew me, and then later on I became a professional musician, and then I got to play for him, and I had one super moment where about 40, 50, 60 musicians used to play together at that time, so I was one more musician, and there was a chai break generally about 11 o'clock, and that day everybody moved out of the studio, and I was just sitting with my guitar, and I'd composed some piece, I was still going on in my head, and there was no one in the studio. And as I kept playing that piece, suddenly the piano started playing the same piece, trying to figure out what the notes are. And I said, oh, somebody's behind the piano trying to figure my composition out. And then he got it, and then he stood up, and then I saw Panchamda. He was sitting there and just looked at me and says, super. And wow, what a shot in my arm, as a composer, when he tells you superb. And what, I must have been 18, 19 at that time. And then years later, so then I played for him, and then years later, to be told that he had just passed away, and then he wanted to do all his music for the next generation, and he had told Asha ji that he wants to do it with me. Leslie के साथ काम करके मुझे मेरा ही music एक नई generation के लिए करना है. And I was shocked. I said, of all the people in the world, why me? He could have chosen anybody. But he had just passed away, and Asha ji asked me, "Tum karoge kya?" I said, where's the question of saying no? So that's how Rahul and I came out, and that was my tribute to Panchamda and Asha ji, of course. And so all I can say is I've been one of the luckiest kids in town, and I'm still lucky because, like Shibani says, when we perform, there's always some rdburman song somewhere there pushing the audience today, 2018. So it's still rocking. Thank you.
I think I've been very lucky that because of my familial proximity with the Mangeshkar family, and specifically Asha Bhosle ji, I have lived a lot of Panchamda through Asha ji, because every time I meet with her, and I meet with her very often, and we're dining or we're just traveling the country doing something, she gives me stories galore of what she has learned from Panchamda. And I have seen that, I think one of us mentioned that, of course, he's musically a god and a musical genius and whatever else, but myself being a student of management, I think Panchamda was a god of management as well. Because I'll just tell you one instance, and then there are stories galore which could be shared later. But when I was doing my first film called Page 3, I sent a song to Asha ji, who was in San Francisco in 2002, when internet was not all that, it wasn't the way it is today. And I wrote a mail to her saying, I would like you to sing it. I'm sending you the files. So she immediately called me from there and said, okay, I'm singing it, but it's going to be the first time but there's going to be no composer, no lyricist, nobody around me, So she sang it and she sent it back to me, and when she came back to India from San Francisco, she said कि मैंने इसलिए गाया तुम्हारा गाना because मुझे पंचम ने कहा था कि if you don't shape up, you will ship out. कि वक्त के साथ अगर आप आगे नहीं चले, because she said when the first time musicians के साथ गाना ख़त्म हुआ था और वो हेडफोन शुरू हुआ था और मेल सिंगर पहले गा रहा है, फीमेल बाद में गा रही है, तो Panchamda had told her that if you don't acclimatize yourself with the changing environment, you will be out of business. So she said that thing is stuck in my head. So, this is just one of the things, but there are millions of things that I've heard from the horse's mouth, because who better than Asha ji would actually say multiple stories and how true the person was to his job and to his craft, that he would play a tune to her and then she would get excited and then he would tell her, no, it's not you, it's Lata ji who's going to sing it tomorrow morning. So it just shows how true a person could be to one's craft. So I think there are a lot of managerial things that one needs to learn, like Shantanu said, ki someone in him must be selling that tune or that whole craft or that whole 5 minutes of madness, which is very difficult for most of us, which is why I think we all fail in some manner, but I think Dada really succeeded, so hats off.
I never met Panchamda. I never even worked with him, but he introduced me to sex. Think of it, the year was 1991 and my parents had got tickets for a film called Karwa, and that was running at the Shalimar Cinema, and I went there, and it was this wonderful cinema with a fountain in the lobby, and I think it was the first time from the sheltered enclave that Cuff Parade is, we went to Grand Trunk to see a movie, and the movie was Karma. And suddenly there was Helen, and she was doing Piya Tu Ab To Aaja, and my eyes fell out. And then suddenly 2 reels later there was Aruna Irani doing Charti Jawani. 2 reels later, Asha Parekh with a lampshade on her head said Kaisi Phasi. And I went home wondering what had hit me. It was 91, I was a child. And I was in love with all these 3 ladies. It was only 2 weeks later when we went to the Liberty Cinema for the premiere of a film called Aagale Lag Ja, where Sharmila Tagore in orange harem pants did Vada Karo Nahi Chodogi. And I said, she's copying Helen, yeah. And then a week later there was Rampur Ka Lakshman and there was Padma Khanna doing, and then I had to connect the dots and I said it's all the same person doing the music. And though I thought I was in love with Helen and Padma Khanna and Sharmila Tagore and Asha Parekh, actually I fell in love with R.D. Burman. And the moment I saw R.D. Burman on the poster, I used to go and see the film. All of them. I didn't like Gulzar so much, he didn't allow him to use the drums. I said, what is he doing here? Why aren't we doing things that we can do? But there were gems. I went to see, my father finally said, boss, you go and see movies here. We see one a month. This business of seeing one film every week, we can't do. So I went by myself and sat in the stalls at Roxy Cinema and I saw R.D. Burman's, the only film with Devanand and Sharmila Tagore. It was called Ye Gulistan Hamara. And there was wonderful music and nobody's heard of the film. And I still listen to it even today. I'm lucky that I got that legacy. I'm lucky that, well, I'm very unlucky that I didn't work with Panchamda, but I think the musical legacy that I got in 1971, 72 onwards kept me instead, whether it was Patthar Ke Phool, whether it was Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman, whether it was Dil Vil Pyar Vyar, which was a tribute to R.D. Burman, whether it was even my English film, Everybody Says I'm Fine, where I went all the way to San Francisco and blackmailed Carlos Santana to play the lead guitar in the title song without charging me money for it. I think I was truly blessed, and I think all of us are truly blessed. I think it is a pity that I can't remember any of the songs from any of the films this year or last year, but I can remember every song in every single R.D. Burman movie, and that's 5,000 plus songs. So you can imagine how amazing this man must have been. Thank you, R.D. Burman, and thank you, Brahmanand, for everything that you're doing. This is not our legacy. This is something that 50 years later our grandchildren will be hearing. And that is truly what makes a legacy endure. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My introduction to Panchamda was as a listener, as a child. And the one thing that really struck me most, song after song after song, was the catch he had. I mean, he could make a melody groove and he could make the groove melodic. And he had a way of combining both of these elements in a way and marry them with each other in the most perfect way. So when you're listening to a song, if you listen minutely, there are many, many different things that are happening in the song. But if you sit and study that, it gets into very complex forms and very complicated stuff. But as a piece of music, as a song, it just breezes through you. And the second thing that struck me was that when you hear a Panchamda song, you hear the environment. Every time, this was like when I was a kid, 71, 72, 73. Every time I heard a song, there used to be Vivid Bharati back then, and we used to hear the song and I used to kind of imagine oh, there must be this happening, there must be a hero and a heroine, and they must be dancing in the mountains, or it must be very cold. You know, you have a certain visualization when you hear a piece of music. And every time I would, like, if I happened to see the film, it was exactly the way I had, almost 19-20 ka farak hota tha, but exactly very close to how I had visualized it. So he had a way of bringing in the environment somehow, like, you know, work the music around it in such a way that it was not just a piece of song or just a piece of music. There was a lot more going on there, which made you feel the song in a way where it must be set. There was only one place where I think I kind of made a mistake there. There was one song which I loved, and I thought the guy singing that must be somebody who's sitting outside a dargah and singing the song, and the hero must be like on the road, like heartbroken and like walking all over the place. But many years later, when I actually saw the visuals of that particular song, it just turned out to be, excuse my memory, but yeah, there was this song, it turned out to be a song where a guy is singing on the stage, and there's no heroine, but there's Amitabh Bachchan in the movie, and it's from a movie called Benam, and the song is called Yara O Yara. Yeah, so yeah, so that was the only place where my visualization went a little awry, but that was the visualization, those were the visuals I had when I first heard that song. So I mean, there are so many things. I mean, anything I say about Panchamda would really be very small, because there are many people who know much more about him and his music, and Brahma, of course, is saying it. One thing I must say about Brahma is, I think what he's done is phenomenal, and phenomenal for the reason that he is doing, like he was telling me some time back, he was doing something that maybe Panchamda's son would have done what he was doing. But I said I would add to it, what you're doing is not what Panchamda's son would have done, but because he wouldn't have been able to give the kind of objective perspective to Panchamda, the person, the human being and the musician, that you, not being his son, are able to give. And another very beautiful thing about Brahma's documentaries is that there is no voiceover, there is nobody narrating anything. The entire story and the perspectives is interwoven completely through what people who knew Panchamda and people who know his music, that's the thread of weaving is coming from the spoken words of the people he has talked to. So that gives a completely, it doesn't lead you on the way a voiceover would lead you on to believe something. It's open for you to interpret what you want to. And I think I'll cut this now. There's just one thing I would say. What the documentary and the series that he's basically satiating our curiosity of Panchamda. We've heard his music, we want to know more about him, his personal life, the person that he was, the human being that he was, his interactions with people, his relationships with people. How did his mind work? How did it function? Why was he the way he was? There is a certain curiosity, and that curiosity Brahma is fulfilling. He's doing what we all would have loved to do but couldn't. But he's taken those extra steps to do that. Ultimately, I think the one great realization we all have from watching Panchamda's documentaries is that we are all human and we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Not us, not the people we live with. And sometimes we feel it is much easier to walk away from a problem, then stay put there and bear with it. And we expect that out of other people, but it doesn't. Life doesn't work that way. So there is something a lot more personal. At a very personal level, there's something you can take away from the life of Panchamda. That's the way, as Brahma says, that's the way life is. There is no other way it'll be. You have to just take it as it comes. And there are many lessons to be learnt from all of this. So Brahma, thank you very much for this, and I'm looking forward to this web series that you're coming up with. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I first of all, big hi to all the people, my seniors, my colleagues, everyone. Of course, I am not too quite clued into how much of effort Brahmanand has made in this, but I have heard so much about your documentaries. I haven't seen them, and people from my fraternity always talk about it. कि मतलब जैसे इंतहाई कोई बहुत ही मन से बनाई हुई कोई चीज़ है, और इस शाहकार को मैंने देखा नहीं अभी तक. आई एम रियली सॉरी फॉर दैट. पर इसलिए मैंने कुछ कहा नहीं पहले, क्योंकि जब कुछ पता ही ना, ब्लेस यू, पता ही ना हो तो फिर इंसान उसके बारे में ज़्यादा बोलता हुआ ठीक नहीं लगता. पंचमदा के बारे में मैं अभी इतना सबने कह दिया, इतनी अच्छी बातें. आई जस्ट आई एम लकी दैट आई मेट हिम. आई वॉज अबाउट टू गेट अ चांस टू सिंग फॉर हिम. और पर किस्मत की बात होती है, मेरी किस्मत में नहीं था उनके साथ में काम कर पाना, क्योंकि मैं इस समय दिल्ली में चला गया था कुछ 3-4 महीने के लिए पैसे कमाने के लिए. पैसे ख़त्म हो गए थे यहाँ पे. एंड देन आई केम बैक. तो संपत जी याद है, मधुर ध्वनि स्टूडियो के संपत जी, मधुर ध्वनि. सो ही कॉल मी अप एंड सर, तेरी किस्मत ख़राब है, तेरे को पंचमदा ढूंढ रहे थे. फिर मुझे मालूम पड़ा कि 1942 लव स्टोरी के लिए ढूंढ रहे थे, और मैंने वो रिकॉर्डिंग मेरे आंखों के सामने होते हुए देखी है. पंचमदा ने कुमार शानू जी को एक दिन पहले वापस भेज दिया था, क्योंकि वो दाढ़ी बड़ी बनी थी उसकी वजह से. तो हम बड़ी उम्मीद में थे कि शायद आए ना कुमार शानू जी. फिर आ गए मेरे सामने, गाना उन्होंने याद किया. वहीं पर मैंने पहली बार जावेद अख्तर जी को देखा, और मुझे याद है कि मेरे सामने वो गाना सिखा रहे थे. एक लड़की को देखा तो ऐसा लगा, कभी डिटेल में बात बताऊंगा. एनीवे, दिस इट्स ग्रेट. आई ऑलवेज फील देयर इज अ वेरी नाइस वर्ड इन फिलोसफी कॉल्ड टेलियोलॉजी. टेलियोलॉजी मीन्स हर चीज़ का, हर इंसान का अल्टीमेट पर्पस. आपकी टेलियोलॉजी ये थी, तो इसलिए दिस वॉज योर टेलियोलॉजी. ऑल द बेस्ट एंड कीप इट अप.
पीछे चलो रे, पूरा पीछे चलो. अच्छा फोटो में. हाँ सर जी, आप सर ऑल ऑफ यू सर जी, आप लास्ट ऑल ऑफ यू. किस कलर? इधर लेफ्ट साइड. थैंक यू.